Josh, we're live.
Oh. I've heard of Halloween horror movies, but that was ridiculous.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Welcome to a very spooky and a very trick-filled and a borderline treatless edition of Only Weird Games here on KCSN. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, Nate Taylor with you today. Seth, how are you doing?
Chiefs lost to the Broncos. The All-22 is not up yet.
What?
And it's snowing. And let me just tell you,
Guttural.
some days you just reach into the well looking for something or hoping for perhaps the sweet release of a meteor. But then you laugh a little and you figure it'll probably be okay.
Yeah, why don't let's
Nate, you good?
Let's be the antidote, okay? Like, let's be the antidote.
It's snowing, guys.
It's
By the way, this isn't a bit.
No.
This is what happens to Minnesotans
the first
that have gotten like
the first fall of
300
snow.
it's been the last 2 winters have been so bad, guys. So bad. And it's starting already.
Well, as someone who just came from a blizzard, I have no sympathy for you. And they look, I'm gonna try to be the antidote. All right. They told us it was gonna snow. It was not a snow game. They told us it was gonna be a flu game. It was not a flu game, not the one that you anticipated. Can I name drop?
Please do. Seth, put down that sharp object. Is that
It's
a katana letter opener? We've talked
It's a
about it.
katana letter opener. And given my heritage, we're like this close to seppuku, man. Like,
Oh, Tucker makes a great point also. Tucker says, if you remember my farmer's tale correctly, you're going to have 30 snowfalls this winter.
Tucker, who hurt you? Like, what? What? Like, can you not see a man on a ledge and throw him a rope rather than chucking an anvil at him to see if he catches it?
He threw a whole, coil of rope at you, not attached to anything.
No, I'm
Nate,
sure it'll be.
Did you get it?
Fine. Yeah.
Nate, drop some names before Seth drops himself.
It was their Pip and flu game. Wow. Wow.
Pippin flu game.
Thanks, Latrell. Look, I'm gonna name drop. It is Saturday. It is in the afternoon. I am in our lovely, just incredibly clean, efficient, civic pride of an airport. And then United tells me that it's snowing. Yes, I know this, United. Flight getting delayed. Okay, reasonable. Understand it, It's cold over there. Is that Urban Meyer?
Come on.
That can't be. Can't be Urban Meyer.
Big Noon Saturday was in Lawrence.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Urban Meyer was stuck at Brown and Low in the airport trying not to be seen, but I saw him.
Was he chatting up a barista or?
Ooh, he was at the bar.
This is my new defense mechanism.
I'm not going to tell any other details, but he was at a bar. He was at the bar of Brown and Low in the Kansas City airport, also trying to get to his destination. And it was at that point, ladies and gentlemen, that I knew, yeah, it's going to be a weird one on Sunday. It's going to be a weird one. That was before they told us this man had the flu. That was before they told us, oh, it's going to be 14 feet of snow. That stopped snowing literally while guys were warming up. So, look, we're just here to be the antidote to your miserable Monday. And I'm here to tell you guys that coaching staff got to get better.
Ooh.
Well,
now now that it's just Matt Nagy calling the plays, just like it was just Eric Bieniemy calling the plays for the last 4 or 5 years, and before that it was just Doug Peterson calling the plays. I assume that it's only. Oh, I actually just see that someone did comment this. I'm sorry, B. Parker. I'm not trying to pick on you. My mentions and my emails are a bunch of, hey, do you think it's Matt Nagy? And my response is always, look, it's Andy Reid's offense. It was Andy Reid's offense last year.
And this happens every year.
I have a theory, though.
I'm excited to hear a theory.
Hey, Nate. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you to do with that theory.
Okay.
Now I'm doing the arm waving visual bit. I'm waving towards myself, saying, "Nate, bring that story to us. Bring that story back." Much like Patrick Mahomes gestured to 6-year NFL veteran Marquez Valdez-Scantling to come back.
No. If they were taught to come back for footballs like every high school receiver knows, obviously the Chiefs aren't teaching them how to do that, so it's clearly a coaching issue. You know what? Did they not coach MVS to hang on to the ball when he catches it?
This is gonna be a weird one. I can tell.
Did they tell Sky Moore? Actually, you know what? Good for Andy Reid for sticking up for Sky Moore. By the way,
good for Andy Reid for lying for Sky Moore.
I mean, he has to.
He got his arm a little.
Yeah, he did.
Arm,
yeah, he did. I agree. He got his arm a little.
That's why he was sitting there like holding one arm up.
And that is why he got one hand on the ball and started to pull it in, but just because other arm he just couldn't get there with it.
That was the thing, because like he missed with his other hand too.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, man. Like, that is not what prevented him. Nate, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Touch the ball with one hand, maybe you get the call, actually. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting.
Just anything but what happened.
So here's my theory, guys. Matt Nagy is known for creativity and for an ability to, get on the perimeter, get on the edge.
Okay, this I can tell I'm going to end up agreeing with. By the way,
he has a reputation for making it fun,
a flair for it, if you will.
A flair for it. Now, one of the best things about last year's team, as the season went along, is that Andy Reid said, "Look, I have 51% of the vote, baby, and it's Patrick's involved." And Nagy's involved because he was a quarterback coach. And, of course, Bieniemy's involved. And I always felt Bieniemy was the yin to the yang for Andy Reid in a lot of sense of reminding him that, like,
run the bleeping ball, Andy.
The game is about physicality. The game is about moving your opponent for more territory. And the reason the Chiefs have struggled in the red zone is because I believe, my theory is, there's an imbalance between an all-world quarterback with the flu, which is just tremendous, an all-world quarterback with the flu, an offensive coach who doesn't like putting things on tape, and an offensive coordinator who's just dying to get to the next creativity, versus turn your back to the defense and hand it to the bulldozer. When you're inside the 15 and the defense is playing zone.
Additional quick note, the running backs coach was an NFL wide receiver. So, like, bleep around. For the second year in a row, by the way.
Yes, for the second year in a row. But to be fair, like, Greg Lewis is a certified assistant head coach. Todd Pinkston is trying to get towards that. I don't mean that they're not qualified for that job, but in the sensibilities of an offense kind of thing, it's kind of an interesting little wrinkle. Yes, and who's the wide receiver coach? Josh?
New guy.
So
he's been around for a little bit, but it's his first year as a positional coach.
Yes, it's a transitional year for the coaching staff in ways that maybe some people don't realize or recognize.
I just had some loose strings on my hoodie, man. Seth, you do weird bleep during the show all the time. I do one bit, and it's like, Seth can't focus.
Can anybody tell me when Isaiah Pacheco got the ball in 5 inside the red zone? Can anybody do that?
Well, there were probably a couple attempts at like a horizontal throw.
When it wasn't a first down handoff to keep the defense on it so we can continue to throw the football on second and third down.
Yeah.
It never happened, kids. This is what I'm saying. It never happened. Why is he on the team? You can't score a touchdown by running the football. That is pretty much my biggest coaching criticism for their loss. Because, Patrick Mahomes kind of told me the truth, guys. I don't know if you heard it, Josh, in the postgame show. But, despite everything, I had to ask Patrick, well, hey, man, I know that you can't tell me the truth. And that's okay. And by the way, you feel miserable. And I don't want to write when I'm sick, let alone play a football game. So you know what? I don't know, man. Did they give more attention to Kelsey today? And Patrick said, no, baby, they didn't do that. Nah, it's similar type zone coverage. They just trying to make us patient. But also, Nate, write this down. Every team's going to try to do it. And I might be a little scared right now because I'm sick and I don't feel good. And we didn't score a touchdown. And every team might try to do it now. And we have to have the answers. And that is the entire thing that we learned yesterday. The Chiefs, kind of like in 2021, are being forced to play a certain way. And they have to make the adjustment to the adjustment. And how soon they do that is up to them and largely up to the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball.
I still don't have the all 22.
You can't watch it till after the show anyway. So
yeah,
Seth,
often,
I'd rather you not watch it until after the show anyway.
Look, let me tell you
I would really prefer that was a great mode of communication. I'm going to compare you to my wife again. That was a great way to communicate with
bingo.
me.
Is that a bingo spot yet? Can Seth compares Josh to his wife? Can that be a bingo score?
I'm just saying it's a testament to your ability to read character when you understand immediately you cannot do. Seth, what I meant to say was I'd really prefer if you did not do this because you were just waiting for me to be like, no, watch this.
Yeah, I really was. Yeah, that's exactly what we were.
Can't? Really? Do I have eyeballs? Are my computer here? I'm gonna do it. And whatever. Oh,
you're a petulant lawyer. I know you, and so does your wife.
I'm just petulant, honestly. I was petulant long before I became an attorney. But no, I want to build on something Nate said.
It's a podcast
about being forced to play a certain kind of way.
Yep.
Something that was different about this game, and because I haven't been able to watch the All-22, I can't confirm it for sure, but a lot of Denver's drops looked like zone drops. Not man coverage drops. And here's the reason that matters. Last year, teams couldn't really do that consistently because, in addition to Kelsey, Podwife, I like Podwife. That's a good comment. Anyway,
Oh, I don't. That's me then. No, I don't like it.
So, in addition to Kelsey, last year...
You're a pod adult.
In addition to Kelsey, everyone knows he's a known zone breaker. He's excellent at it. But you can give him enough attention. The issue is they had Juju Smith-Schuster, and a word I'm going to be using a lot today is consistency. Juju Smith-Schuster consistently found the right spots against zone. And I know people are saying, hey, Seth, didn't you say that Rashee Rice is getting pretty good at that? Yeah, he's getting pretty good about that. But he's a rookie, which means you know what it's not going to be? Consistent. And when you're not consistent with something, that means you can't be counted on to do something, which means you're going to get overlooked the times when you do the something. That's where things become problematic and things don't match up. It's like, oh, well, what do you mean Sky Moore can't beat man coverage at intermediate levels? I saw him do it twice. Yep, out of how many routes? And the problem is, if your quarterback saw you not do it 5 or 6 times in a row, I'm not trying to just pick on Sky Moore. There were a lot of issues there. Mahomes might have missed him a couple times that I'm not aware of. I'll look at the film. But, yeah.
This is the fun thing about today with you not having seen it yet, Seth. One of us got to see all 22 in real time, and I can't wait to ask Nate about those questions.
I want to ask about that because this has been the first game, and I knew this was coming. This has been the first game where there's like a Mahomes pushback, where it's like, he's missing open receivers all over the field, and the examples people are giving me are not good ones. Look, guys, let me just give you one. On the Sky Moore You could call it a drop. You could call it a poorly tracked ball, whatever you want to call it, right? That was kind of the
Missed
death
deep
knell.
shot.
That was the death knell of the comeback, really. Because, honest to God, even at that point, I was like, they're going to come back and win this. Like, and I'm going to be super annoyed all week. And then he didn't connect. I was like, oh, holy crap, they might lose. Like, and it's a weird experience being a Chiefs fan these days. Because my wife's comment was like, well, they have to lose sometimes. I was like, how dare you? I was like,
They really don't. Honey, let me tell you about the 1972 Miami Dolphins.
yeah, I was like, there are some teams that don't have to lose. So here's what I would say. Did Moore get his arm grabbed? Yeah. Could it have been called? Yeah. Could he have made it an easier call for the refs by tracking the ball better? Yeah.
Or we could just horse collar MVS with the ball in
Oh
the air.
no! Ooh, that one's way worse.
That one does not bother me one bit.
What happened to MVS is a felony in some states.
Federal crime. Yes.
Like, that's just like, if that happened to a dude walking down the street, I'd charge him with a crime. Like, now that's a lot of football, to be perfectly honest.
If they were down that bad to the
there.
Broncos, would you really? Like, would you actually?
No.
I love that
So-
the refs looked at Andy and was like, scoreboard.
Yeah, they're like, Andy, you gotta chill, man. It's over. And Andy's like sitting there like, 13 seconds, guys. Like, this could happen. Mahomes over there like, I have 103-degree temperature and I just want to go home. But okay, so let me just
like,
finish
they'll need to get in a field goal range like 6 more times.
So let me finish the thought here. So
Sorry.
on that play with Sky Moore, no, it's fine. I think I interrupted myself like 3 times before anyone interrupted me. So yes, Jet McKinnon was on the right side of the field without a defender within 3 or 4 yards of him. That doesn't mean he's open because he's stationary and there's 3 zone defenders in the area that are right behind the line of scrimmage. So here's what happens, and this is going to lose something to people that are not, watching live. So when a quarterback in the NFL moves against zone coverage, like when he goes from looking straight ahead or looking right to coming back left, or in this case, coming left to coming back right, those zone defenders move with him. Jet McKinnon would have had his head ripped off by the time that ball arrived. That is not a missed open receiver. And you've got to just, and again, I'm sure no one here thinks that that's one of the misses, but those are the things that are getting put in my mentions, whatever they're called these days. I don't know what they're called now.
I think
They're
that's the
probably
only thing they
called
didn't change. Yeah.
Extensions or what? How does it start with an X? It just is something to understand in terms of what a missed shot is. And it's just something worth knowing. And I don't know what Mahomes' film looked like. I do know the examples people have given me so far about missing open receivers have not been a good one. But that's just something I had to get off my chest because there are issues here. Mahomes has not been as good as he was, I would say, most. I think he's been, Nick Wright said it pretty well, I thought. He's been a very good quarterback. Even by my charting, he's been very good. But he's only been like the fire-breathing dragon a couple of games. And he's had a couple games where he's had some weird stuff. Against Denver the last time, I charted him as having 5 missed shots or missed open receivers that he should have seen within the progressions. Against the Lions, he had 3. He's got, before last night, he had 11 total on the season. So it's not like, they had 8 in those 2 games, and then the other games, there's 3. But he had weird accuracy night against the Jets. So it's not that Mahomes is not, that he's been perfect, or that he doesn't share some blame. But however, in our desire to be like, no, it's not this, it's this. Like, this isn't like a zero-sum game where, like, if you say the receivers have not been good, that means you absolve Mahomes and Andy Reid and Matt Nagy completely. And that's just a frustrating thing. I apologize.
It's not a zero-sum game, but it was a 0-touchdown game, Nate. So what did go wrong?
Let me tell you the one play that you can watch, and I wrote about it on Twitter, and it was kind of clunky at the time because, I don't know, halftime, I'm trying to respond to as many people as I can quickly. But I slowed it down multiple times. You can watch it on the non-live 22. You're in the red zone. It's still a game up in the air. It's before the half, and, there are different situations for different times you're in the red zone, depending on the score and obviously the time of the game. But what most coaches will tell you is, hey, man, we've already worked to get down there. So if all else fails, we cannot have a turnover. We have to get 3, at least. Obviously, the goal is to get 7. It's the second quarter. You know they're in zone. And this is where the coaching staff picks the right play. Hey, the middle zone defender is going to have to make a choice. Is he going to go with, I believe at the time, Rashee Rice towards the middle? Or is he going to shade more to the dig, which is what Sky Moore is running? It's a 10-yard dig. He doesn't run it great, but he runs it well enough to be wide open. And the quarterback, as Seth alluded to earlier, is going middle to right. And you can see it because Sky is going right to left. He's in the view. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I'm at the back of my drop. No. So this is what Alex Smith was really good at. This is why he was called check down, Captain Check Down at a point, or he was called Mr. Eat the Football. If you don't like it, you have to eat the football, or you check it down. Mahomes did neither, and he got strip sacked. So what are we supposed to surmise from that? The guy who ran the route for the right play call against a certain coverage was not trusted with the football. Full stop. That is your clearest example of this entire season that Patrick Mahomes does not trust Sky Moore. It is on tape. We have evidence.
That's from 2 weeks ago in the first Denver game as well. I wrote about that you could really sum it up as a trust issue. There were several plays where Mahomes looked, saw Moore, clutched, and then held it.
Yep.
And here's the deal. He's let it go a couple times too, and it hasn't always gone amazingly. Now, what do you do with that? Is that a quarterback issue? Is that a receiver issue? The answer is yes. Because, man, that throw to the back of the end zone, that's a big boy throw. That's hey, you're up against Surtain, but you got to step, get this done, buddy. No, you didn't? Okay, fair enough, I guess.
It's a very chicken and egg sort of relationship with the two of them right now, where it's hard to say who's at blame other than to say they're both at blame. Like, Sky has not done enough to gain more trust from Mahomes. And when Mahomes has given him trust, like, I'm going to stare you down. This is also when I was like, yeah, he might have the flu. Hike. 1, 2, 3. Is that Patrick Surtain? F it. Yeah. and Sky Moore's my hike, kids. And I think he was thrilled that it was incompletion. But it was also like, those two decisions don't compute.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, Sky didn't win his route against Patrick Surtain. That happens. Patrick Surtain, very good cornerback. Hey, he, for a large part of the time, when not covering Travis Kelce, kind of eliminates a third of the field. So I get it. Sky ran his route as well as he could run it against Patrick Surtain. Pat's late on the throw and the decision, and it's like, okay, he might have the flu. That was okay, he might have the flu. But then, as Seth says earlier, on 4th and 2, gotta have it. I cannot wait for this all-22 moment, Seth.
You dropped that in a bucket, man.
It's one of the best throws he's made all year. Yeah. Again, with the flu.
Justin Watson catches that. That's all I'm saying.
Game on the line with a dude in his face because he had to hold the ball for the route to obviously develop downfield. And then also, he said hike, and three Denver Broncos were like, hell no, not you, Travis. Anybody but you. Yeah. And that is the all-22 clip that I can't wait for you to watch, is the fact that Travis is like, okay, I have an option route. It's only 4th and 2. I got a lot of options to go with. Said hike. All right, I'm gonna give him a little shake. Look, okay, I'm here. And 3 dudes just converge on him. So Pat's like, I want to throw you the ball, but I can't. That's 3-on-1. All right. Let me get to my reads. Ooh, holy crap! There's a dude in my face. Yeah, just one of the greatest throws of the season. Yeah. And I don't care if your hand got held, man. You are a professional football player whose responsibility is to make that catch when the game's on the line. That's why you're on the field.
And it was his it's his upper arm that gets held. You've got to eventually be able to fight through some contact.
Yes,
and that's part of the problem that Moore.
Sport.
That's part of the problem that Moore has had, is that his strength through contact, whether it's on his routes, because he's smooth, but he's not strong. Like you can see it he was a yak guy in college. He gets tackled a little bit easier than you'd think. The difference between him and Rashee Rice with the ball in their hands. Now, Rashee's a bigger dude compared to him.
Yes.
Not big enough to get a screen pass in the middle of the offensive line needing to get 2 yards, but a bigger dude.
Well, that he was tripped, and that was kind of blatant, honestly. I don't know what the rule is on tripping. I think when it's incidental, I think it's fine.
Correct.
But
when you can't tell who did it, it's fine.
Yeah, and it was just like, because it was clearly he was tripped, but I was also like, nah, I'm not really mad they didn't call that. But like, and then also, I mean, let's face it, Rashee did drop one in the middle of the field where his problem is when he knows he's got a lot of room, you could just see him I'm housing this. As it's coming in, he's like, I am going to take this another 20 yards. That safety is about to get blown up behind me, and I don't know if we're going to get the ball. And like, sorry, I'm sure I just didn't register just now. But
it actually came through, believe it or not.
It really did.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So it really is
Where's Marcus Kemp when you need him? What is the opposite of catching a stray? Is it like catching a miracle?
Catching a little compliment, you know?
Yeah, and catching a compliment. Marcus Kemp would have caught it.
Do you want to know the difference though between Rice and Moore?
Yes.
I mean,
I have several.
There are several. But the biggest difference in terms of trust, because when people say, Rice dropped one too, and a gimme. However, there's a scale here. If someone has made some catches and made some adjustments and been in the place I expected them to be 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row, then when they have a drop, which he hasn't had a rough drop in a few weeks, which is nice, you know, it's every time with him, he wants to start running. I get it. He's a gifted yak guy. So Mahomes, you build up some credit. So I can get away with certain things in my marriage.
I knew this was going to be a marriage thing. I could tell.
There's certain things I can get away with because I've built up credit. Like, you know, when I, once a week, come home a half hour later than I say I'm going to. Because I'm recording Only Weird Games.
From the office.
Yeah, from the office. Honey, I'm at the office. I'm doing very important lawyer things and making sounds with Nate. And so...
Because that sounds a certain way.
You can build up a credit. You can build up a credit by, you know, let's say you took out the garbage the day before. You helped clean up when she was feeling a little tired. You took the kids, you hung out with them for a while so she could go rest.
Sounds brutal, man. You cleaned the house a little bit and hung out with your children, Dad of the Year.
Thank you. I prefer to think of it more as me doing her a favor.
Yeah, I always say, I'll let you get your nails done, and they look so pretty, baby. They look so pretty.
Yeah,
so
pretty. You can build up credit. And Rashee Rice, he's had a couple rough drops this year, but he's had way more in the debit than in the credit. Whereas with Moore, it's been...
He forgot your birthday, your anniversary, your kid's birthday.
That dude, he refers to being a dad as doing you a favor, you know, things like that. And that's where the major difference is.
Is he the dad with the wife beater who's like, hey, I was part of that equation that made that child?
When he has to stay home with the kids, he calls it babysitting.
Yeah. No,
I'll babysit
my children.
Kid. Right.
I'll pay child support by collecting a check and feeding them sometimes. Like, you know,
we may have gone too far on our vague Sky Moore critique, by the way.
Yeah. Sky Moore's catching a lot of strays here.
Apologies to Sky Moore, but also
there's not trust. There's not trust. If I'm home an hour late, my wife's not like, who is she? I'm like, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, okay?
But to your point, Seth, like Sky can't come to he can't do an AJ Brown. He can't come to the quarterback on the sideline and say, throw me the damn ball. Like, Because again, he
Can
hasn't.
you imagine?
I kind of want him to, honestly.
I would I
just
think we would
shake
see
it
a
up.
side of Mahomes that we haven't seen. I think we really would. We
I'd
would
like to
see
see
like
that from Sky Moore, honestly. I'd like to see Sky
kinda-
Moore pissed he didn't have the football.
Yeah, because the thought is like, okay, AJ Brown goes up to Jalen Hurts and says, "Hey, they traded for me, and we went to the Super Bowl last year, and you know, I would like to be productive. I would like the ball in my hand, and you know, he's been a monster ever since. So look, and I mean that in a good way, like." AJ Brown is so terrifyingly good.
Yeah, no, he's freakishly good.
Oh my god!
He might be my favorite just to watch. It just he can do it. He does everything.
Because he can run routes. He's great at contested catches. You want to try to tackle me? That's hilarious. Like he's incredible. But it's not like Tyreek coming in the huddle, because this happened, and said, "Hey, I'm open."
Right.
And Pat would go, "I know."
I'm working on it.
I know. Like the entire 2021 season is, "Hey, I'm open." I know. And then you look at, and I want people to do this right now. Look up the stats. This man asked for more targets when he had the most receptions in team history.
Didn't he have like 180 targets or some insane number? And he probably was open. But
And he was. That's the point. The point was Tyreek was like, "I'm open." And Pat's like, "I know. We got to spread it around, baby." Like,
right.
you know, so it's Sky Moore is in the worst possible scenario, which is you were expected to be relied upon. You had a great training camp. I cannot say that enough. Sky Moore had a great training camp. So did Richie James, who's probably never going to play another snap in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform.
Well, I'm just glad that Brett Veach is busy working on that.
Look, he's trying to get a pick somewhere. Like, can I get a low round pick from somebody?
Yeah.
Which, you know,
Only they had a compensatory pick.
I knew it.
Yeah.
It's like, they traded for McCole Hardman, may have cost themselves the compensatory pick, and now suddenly the other guy wearing number 17, who's a gadget player who's okay at returning punts, is now he can't find a roster spot. Wild. We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Hey, bring Keaontay in. Bring Keaontay in. Hey, dog.
I'm so mad.
You still got that playbook?
Where are all those people talking about the compensatory pick last week? Asking if I was still having off the compensatory pick.
You still got that playbook? What was still got that scouting report? Now, what can you say about Matt Dickerson? Is he as good as you? No, be honest with me. What if we ran at him the entire game? Matt Dickerson. Yeah. The guy that they chose over you, right?
No, and not the other guy that's been a 6th round pick on Neil Farrell, because he's not effing playing.
I mean, they really let you go, huh?
No.
They didn't value you. They didn't trust you. Look, I'm Sean Payton. I'm the most pettiest coach in the NFL, baby. Tell me what you got on Matt Dickerson. What are you doing wrong? What did he say something? Did you say something to coach? What'd you say to Joe? What did you say to Joe Cullen? I want you to know that I'm a character right now and that this is partly true and partly fictitious, okay? All I want you to know is I'm petty, okay? My season's on the line, Keaontay, and if you want a paycheck in November, I need you to tell me something about Matt Dickerson and where we can attack him in the run game so that we can keep getting the 3rd and 4s, because have you seen our quarterback in 3rd and 8 and plus? He's horrid, okay? So I need you to tell me, when does Matt Dickerson come onto the field? Tell me the rotation. We might get you a uniform if you tell us the right thing.
I know we need to break, but seriously, even with all that, it wouldn't have worked if they didn't have to drive only like 20 yards and then like 30 yards and then like 50 yards.
39, and 10
the
on the 3
defense
touchdown
deserved
drives.
better than that, man.
50, 39, and 10.
I'm going to tell you this, Keaontay.
50, 39, and 10? I thought I was being hyperbolic.
Those are the 3 touchdown drives.
I'm going to tell you this, Keaontay. We're going to make them pay for Matt Dickerson picking them over you. We're going to make them pay. We're going to make them pay. You know what? It's not even Matt Dickerson's fault, but we're going to make them pay, okay? And tell me something about Leo Chenal. Tell me something. This guy.
He goes that way really well.
Christensen, you know anything about him?
Sir, I do not. No. I do not know.
I can honestly say, hand on a Bible, I don't even know who that dude is.
Oh, he's the one who Travis Kelce punched. Yeah. He seems like a punk. I don't know. That's not my opinion. That's Keandre Coburn's opinion. I'm doing a character.
Hey, Keandre, I just want to say, if we get this dub, like I think we're going to get this dub because I'm petty. I want to be so petty. I mean, what if we put you at fullback? No, we won't go that far. We won't go that far. But if you could tell us where Chris Jones is going to be on certain third downs, that would be a marvelous thing for us. Because I'm coaching like my season's on the line, and I know they coaching like they don't care about you. B, they coaching like they don't have any respect for us. And you know what? You can beat me 16 straight times. What you not gonna do is beat me 17, because I'm Sean Payton and I'm petty. And I need to win this game like my entire season's on the line.
Did you know Kevin James played me in a movie?
In a movie!
Did you cough on Patrick Mahomes like we talked about? Cough on Patrick Mahomes?
So we're going to do a multifaceted plan so that we might score 24 points.
These are Renee's old glasses from before she got LASIK, and I can't see anything. If we're going to pay the bills, then we have to take a timeout. So let's do that now.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
So what else can we learn from any of this? We touched on the defense some. I'm honestly comfortable with that being the entirety of the defensive conversation, because there were some successful stretches of the Broncos running the football. But by and large, again, the 3 touchdown drives, 39 yards, 50 yards, and 10. The field goal at the end was a gift. These are all points off turnovers, essentially, or at least points off of poor field position. The punt return didn't help, all of that. So if you have anything else you want to say on the defensive side, I'd say let's go ahead and go around the room and do it. That's mine. I've got way more things I'm way more interested and worried about from the offensive side still.
Go ahead, Seth.
You weren't wrong that this is the second week in a row that teams have utilized Spags' rotations against him a little bit, which is interesting. The Chargers kind of weaponized it a bit. And that's something that they're going to need to continue to pay attention to. So the Chargers utilized a ton of hurry up to keep the Chiefs in their base packages, because the Chiefs have been so good, especially in their dime packages as well as their nickel packages. And then also Spags kind of, and people have noticed this in previous years, he'll do kind of like a piecemeal swap out for people in terms of like, well, this is the drive that we're going to have, Dickerson and someone else on the field instead of, Chris Jones and Charles Menahu or Chris Jones and Derek Nottie or whatever, right? And when that happens...
We saw a lot of Matt Dickerson is all I'm saying, guys.
We saw a lot of Matt Dickerson.
We saw a lot of Matt Dickerson. You saw a lot of Mike Edwards instead of Brian Cook.
Yeah, okay, and that's where Spags is... And Edwards has played well, so... whatever. So you saw Dickerson get picked on a little bit. Also, in addition to Bolton being out, Bolton's a good run-stuffing linebacker. It's one of the things he does really well. He was out. Tranquil was out for various snaps. Willie Gay Jr. was out for various snaps. Like it's bad when I'm like seeing like the number of someone on the field. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is. Like, that's less than ideal. And so they took advantage of some of that. But all in all, seriously, like, Snead got penalized a few times that I agree with, a few times that I don't. It just is, because that really was, because even if when people are talking about, oh man, they're getting gashed in the run game, the biggest plays on those drives were deep balls or pass interference. It still wouldn't work if it was just run. They had to convert multiple third and longs, which they did with the deep passing game or penalties. And honestly, overall, that defense gets an even, this is the way I framed it, similar to week 1. If in either of those weeks, the defense gets an even, not just Chiefs average offensive performance, but league average offensive performance, the Chiefs are undefeated if that happens. And the offense just couldn't give it to them. You don't win games where you turn the ball over 5 times. Even if the opponent turns it over once or twice, you just can't win games like that. Well, I think they lost the turnover margin by 3, was it?
Yeah, 2 to 5.
Yeah, you can't win games that way, barring really freakish stuff happening, and Mahomes didn't have that. And that's where I think a lot of people come back to the receiver conversation, because it feels like the
Oh
solution.
no, excuse me. It was 5-1. Excuse me.
I was
5-1.
sitting here thinking, I don't remember the second turnover, but
I mean, that's really bad. If you winning a game where you lose the turnover battle by 4 is almost unheard of. It's borderline impossible to do because that's just possessions are one of the most important things that exist, which is why when it's, you're on the opposing team's 42-yard line, for example, you don't, punt on 4th and 5.
Get him, Josh. Get him.
Seth's got this one, man. No
Because
one
those
listens to him.
32
Get it,
yards,
coaches.
those 32 yards aren't remotely as valuable as the possession, especially when your defense is overall playing very well. Like, people are like, oh, he's going to trust the defense and pin him back. No, trusting your defense is saying, I don't care if you get the ball at the 42 or the 10. I trust my defense. Hey, let me trust my offense a little bit. Now, I don't think he did, and I can understand why.
That's my like offensive take is that Andy Reid doesn't like his own offense. Like he's just not. He doesn't want him out there either.
Yeah, he doesn't like his own offense. But that's where giving up possessions is a big deal. Time of possession. I see your comment, Cody Glenn Barnhart. That's a great name, honestly. Anyway, I tried to say it angrily, but that's a great name.
Do you want to share the comment with the rest of us,
Seth?
Oh,
he just says, well, Seth's saying time of possession matters. That's crazy, because there's a lot of Y's there. And he's joking around because this has been a long-running bit. And you really do have a great name. Like, that was hard to say angrily. Like, I got into it. I was like, man.
So keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline.
The number of possessions. The number of possessions is what matters. And that's where they gave away even the opportunity for that, and then it just the field position game is a stupid one if you trust your defense. And now the Chiefs, they're in a whole different world, and you could see it. So I don't have a lot to say about the defense. They overall
you also
played
trusted
really well.
your defense that much you could pin them back at the 4-yard line on your red zone go attempts, like when it's 3rd and 2 at the 3, and you could get a first down or score. And just know you've got 2 plays. I mean, it's just that's just like some Madden 101 stuff that like I actually don't even really have the patience to re-explain because go play Madden and you'll figure it out. I don't know why Andy Reid doesn't.
The only time they went for it on 4th and short was when they were down 21-9.
And they had an absolute no chancer to Travis Kelce there. It was like a little kind of one of those little sprint out kind of things, right? Of like there's no covering this. Go ahead, do this 50 times.
And that's the thing. That's one thing. Just on a side note, that makes the Chiefs' short yardage woes at times really frustrating because we all know that Andy Reid has at least 5 in his bag that are just complete money. But the problem is, and I get why he does this, I really do, but he reserves him for, hey, Chad Henne, you're playing in the divisional game. We really need this 4th down conversion. This is going to work. Just don't panic.
But here's the thing. If that's the case, play normal football.
Yeah, just be normal.
Be normal. Why can't you be normal?
Yeah.
That actually is the thing. Maybe it goes back to the Matt Nagy thing of like he's a creative, low boiling genius, and Eric Bieniemy is a loud, cursing, screaming running back at heart, and maybe that's the difference. And like if you listen to Times Ours, you have to know how far we've gotten from God's light for me to be here just like run the football up the middle. Just run some power football.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
It's bad. We are a long ways away from our foundation, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
But this is what I tweeted last night, and Matt Lane was on it, and the Lab will talk later tonight, and I can't wait for that show too. But we both tweeted a couple of takes along these lines where I said that the offense felt stale and gimmicky yesterday, where it was the same stuff we've seen before. But it was all the little cutesy kind of like, not even like he got too cute, but just all of that horizontal passing game stuff. All of the behind the line of scrimmage, checkdowns and dump offs and flats and screens. Again, just all the horizontal things and the different ways they come around.
I'm sorry, Jess, but they consider those part of the run game.
And that's too bad because they're not exactly. When it works, go ahead and consider it that. It's a safe, short yardage, try to pick up kind of play. When that's working, I'm okay with it being included as part of the running game if it's a way to get your running backs the ball in space. That's not Isaiah Pacheco. And right now, it's not 2023 Jerick McKinnon either. Like, it's not, these aren't swing passes to Kadarius Toney, which might be interesting if he was on the field, which he just isn't anymore. Which also a quick note, Justin Ross, commissioner's exempt list. Go ahead and we talked about it some last week. It's all out there now. but I mentioned that because Kadarius Toney was the least snapped wide receiver on the Chiefs active roster yesterday, which is a weird and not
makes
thrilling place to be.
Just makes no sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Considering you need somebody to,
Wiggle.
Yes, or have a play that can break.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what Matt said was it was just sort of lobbing that Rolodex of those types of plays because the simple concepts weren't working and haven't worked by and large for huge chunks of this season. And if that's
where
the
you start
case,
talking about receivers too.
Right. That's when it all comes together.
Sorry.
And it's okay because if that's also being undercut by your offensive line, if it's being undercut by your tight end depth, if it's being undercut by your receivers, hell, if it's being undercut by your quarterback, you have a personnel problem. If it's being undercut by your coaches, you have a coaching problem. Right. And so there is such a rolling ball of just this snowball that's picking up, just wild Arctic animals and rolling over cabins, and it's just this huge death ball. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know. Our YouTube title is "What's Wrong and How to Fix It." We know what's wrong. I don't know how to fix it because they seem unhappy with their football team. And Patrick Mahomes is just stuck in a nightmare where he has to play Harlem Globetrotters basketball, and I would love a drive to the paint.
The last thing I'll say about that, kind of related to the defense and the fact that it's a team sport. It's the ultimate team sport. The defense, offense, and sometimes occasionally the special teams have to work in concert with one another, and that is where coaching really can be evaluated in a sense. Mm-hmm. So this really comes down to one player in my mind, and he talked to us after the game, and I kind of felt bad for him because I was like, well, Justin, you guys gave up a season-high 24 points. Yeah. But even as I'm saying this in this question, that is just hilarious because it's not really your fault. So Justin Reed, this happens to you as the safety, right? Hey, they're going to throw a deep shot. And 2 out of the 3 times, it's usually a successful play for the offense. Either the guy catches it or he gets a pass interference. Jerry Jeudy probably had his best catch of the year against Justin Reed. Justin Reed is in perfect position. Hey, I don't want to get beat deep, but also I want to contest the catch, but also I don't want to get too physical because that's an automatic pass interference. Jerry Jeudy makes just a hilariously great catch. Hey, tip your cap. All right. In the second half, Justin Reed says, okay, I got it. And I'm going to time the jump, and I'm going to block a field goal. And that is supposed to ignite the offense to do their job. Because I did something that was abnormal. Okay. Hey, they got me on one deep play that led to a touchdown. Hey, that's football. But you know what? I'm going to do my job on the second part of this, and I'm going to make a game momentum swinging play on my own on special teams. So, hey, we're going to stop them. We're going to force them to kick a long field goal. I'm going to time the count immediately, and I'm going to block the field goal. It's one of the best plays that will immediately get lost a month from now. You can't punt after that. You just can't.
Yeah.
And what it tells me is it is a lack of respect from the entire coaching staff to players down. One of the best parts yesterday was me and Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star are in the locker room, or this is before we go in the locker room. And I'm just having just a fun conversation. How are we trying to, summarize this crazy, odd, weird game? And I said, look, Sam, we found the answer. And Sam goes, what do you mean? It took 17 games. It took 17 games for them to disrespect the Broncos enough that their lack of respect led to them losing. Because if it's any other team, I would argue, not in a Broncos uniform, in a conference game or a divisional game that has weighted importance, you cannot punt there after Justin Reed pulls off one of the most remarkable plays that you will forget a month from now because you chose not to go for it on, as I check my notes here, 4th and 5 from the 42-yard line, which is essentially no man's land. Or you have an amazing field goal kicker who's been perfect this season in altitude. Might want to use him.
Let
You know?
Harrison. I would rather they have attempted. Okay, you're on the 42-yard line.
It's, by the way, it's 14-9. So if you kick a field
Yeah.
goal,
It-
you would still be in a very close game. But
It's
obviously,
just as obvious of a ghost situation as you're going to find outside of the red zone, and the Chiefs fail those all the time. So I don't know what we're surprised.
And analytically, the analytics tell you probably want to go for it.
The analytics on this one tell you, sorry, you had to ask. That's honestly like it's like plus 6% or something.
You
It's really an
can't-
obnoxious number.
So the coaching staff or the coach did a disservice to the player, that being Justin Reed. Justin Reed gave you a chance.
Did a disservice to Patrick Mahomes, to Travis Kelce.
I'm not even talking about the offense, Josh. He did a disservice to one of his defensive leaders who made a really, really nice play to change the momentum or to potentially change the outcome of the game in the second half. When again, as Seth said earlier, possessions matter. And you just wasted a possession because it's 4th and 5 from the 42-yard line. And let's pin them back, which didn't work. And you made your defense have to work harder when your defense/special teams actually made a play to make it easier on the offense and give them a short field that you chose not to go for it. I think if it's any other team not named the Denver Broncos, they go for it in that situation. But you know what? They don't respect the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos said, finally, it took us 16 tries, but you're not going to disrespect us enough that we won't make you pay for it. And look, I think the coaching staff, I think the players, it's hard to be a human and be like, well, we beat them 16 straight times. We'll just beat them again. That's the third quarter. It's kind of getting late. We can just punt them and we'll get the ball back and we'll score. And
Andy Reid got stuck in autopilot again. Right?
And look, it took 17 games for their disrespect to actually bite them. And I thought that was fascinating. Was like, well, the quarterback needs some support because, he's playing with flu-like symptoms and no one wants to support him at a high enough level outside of 87, who's being triple covered late in the fourth quarter. And also the coaching staff, we don't really think they can score again, right? Just punt it back. Just punt it back to him. And it caught up to him. And, that's the ebbs and flows of a long season. I know people have said, well, this reminds me of the Colts game. True, but they didn't have Harrison Butker. They didn't.
This was a healthy, fully.
This is a divisional
healthy
game.
Chiefs team, a divisional game where the only real injury of terrible note was Patrick Mahomes having the flu.
Yeah. So
Seth, what were you gonna say? I'm apoplectic now.
I hope that Nate's right. That part of it was foolishness due to the opponent.
You telling me if the Miami Dolphins have a 14-9 win next week in Germany on 4th and 5 from the opponent's 42-yard line, you're punting. Tell me that's happening.
Andy makes decisions on 4th down that flummox me with some regularity.
Late in the third quarter.
Here's what I do think happens that matters. I think if the Dolphins are up 7-0 and the Chiefs have the football on the 3-yard line, I think they kick a field goal. I think they'd make it 7-3 again. Because what evidence has Andy Reid given me to think that he would make the right decision there? Why not make the right decision there? I'm not saying you're wrong, Nate, but I am saying it doesn't make any bleeping sense. Not that what you said didn't make sense, but that line of thinking for an NFL coaching staff is insane to me.
With the best quarterback on the planet.
Theoretically,
it would explain a variety of things that are mystifying to me.
The skeleton!
The skeleton is out. So here's what I would just say.
Depressed skeleton.
I'm not particularly worried because I disagree with Andy Reid's decision on 4th down, right? Andy's better now with that stuff, I think, than he was a decade ago, but he's still not. That's not how he wins games. What I'm concerned about for me is right now, I am watching on the first drive of the game, Patrick Mahomes drop back the pass and look around, and then look around, and then look around some more, and then finally scramble, look around after scrambling down the field, and then finally just shake off 2 defenders and convert a first down on 2nd and 8. There's a 12-second snap. Within the framework of the game, on the first drive, there were 2 12-second snaps where there was, based on what I can see, nobody open. Now, someone might say, well, he had Jerick McKinnon on one where he was starting to run out of bounds.
Yeah, he started.
The reality there is, if you really slow it down, McKinnon starts to break deep right as Mahomes is lowering the ball to throw it out of bounds. And that's where those boom, boom things happen, those bang, bang plays. You just can't. Maybe he could have anticipated McKinnon going deep, but maybe not. That's just a tough one. For me, that is much more... I'm much more worried that they think that they have the personnel to do what they want to do with the receiver group, and I'm not sure they do. And here, because the big thing is, we all know that Sky Moore was a big part of their plans this year. We all know that Kadarius Toney was a big part of their plans this year. Neither of those guys are working out. Sky Moore's snap count is going down. Kadarius' snap count has cratered. I don't think they trade anything for McCole Hardman if either of those guys are really working out. And my concern is, if I take a look at things that Andy Reid has in the past struggled with at times, he's the same guy every day, right?
Yes, that is one of his greatest assets as a head coach.
Absolutely. It's a huge strength that can occasionally be a weakness because we can, he really is, like we talk about, he puts too much, they're putting too much on Patrick Mahomes. I think Andy Reid at times puts too much on himself too. It's like, no, I got to be better. If I call a better game, we win. If I do this, I would just say, if Rashee Rice continues to get better and they tweak a few things schematically, I think the offense certainly can be better and more consistent. Certainly. We're a week removed from Mahomes spreading the ball out to everyone and going full fire-breathing dragon, but it feels like it's reliant too much on Mahomes having the ability to flip that switch. And, maybe he'll have a flu. Maybe he'll just be really good that day instead of unbelievably good. And this is worst supporting cast in terms of receivers that he's had. And that's where the funny thing to me is, it's like, he just lost Juju Smith-Schuster. The fact that that's a kind of borderline devastating loss tells you something about this, because last year, and I started to say this at the beginning, teams couldn't really play zone against them because you had 2 guys that could shred zone consistently. Now you've only got 1. Mm-hmm. And other guys, there's kind of a coin flip at times. And you still don't have anyone who can beat man besides Travis Kelce. Rashee Rice needs to work on working leverage against corners. I don't know why they're not trying to use him as a boundary guy more when you look at his acceleration. But, whatever. That's where, to me, it feels like the one thing, it's a huge strength of Andy Reid that he's the same guy. That's the strength 98% of the time. It's that 2% of the time where it can be problematic. And my fear is they set this course, and now they're going to fly it right into the sun if they're not careful. Because they had a plan. That plan is not working. Do they think they can scheme and execute their way and kind of force that plan to work? That's my fear. Because now, it's probably a good thing I don't run an NFL team. Because if it were me, I'd be panicking and calling, I'd be calling the Cardinals and say, hey, you've got Hollywood Brown. He can separate against man at all 3 levels of the field and is a legit deep threat. What do you want? Now, it's a good thing I don't run a team because I'd be too reactionary.
It really is.
But there is...
Yeah, you might have blinked around and accidentally drafted an outside wide receiver in the 32nd pick in 2020.
Who knows? Who knows what I might have done? Maybe there's a time. That's the thing. There's a time to be reactionary.
Seth doesn't want to equate himself to Jerry Jones, but he's getting there.
Yeah, but the problem is you can be under-reactionary too, to where you basically are like looking at a problem and like, oh no, I think it's going to be fine. I don't really see too much of an issue here. Well, I think I can scheme my way out of this because you're kidding yourself about what a guy has actually shown as opposed to what his potential is. And I'm a pretty optimistic guy.
Yeah. So let me make 1 point of optimism and 1 point of dread. What do you want first, Josh? What do you want first that we know is true on both sides of what I'm about to say?
Let's go good news first. Go ahead and get optimistic with us. We've been pretty down today.
Patrick Mahomes had the flu.
Yeah. It's true.
the coaching staff gets better as the season gets along.
Sure hope so.
We have facts and
Evidence
proof
from
of
the
this.
past.
We have facts that
not
Andy Reid can coach.
if I may
coaches.
nitpick. If I may nitpick,
okay.
not this coaching staff.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
That's fair. I would
Based on
too,
evidence.
but it is a different coaching staff, just a little bit.
And the attention to detail, as people have said in the comments, is lacking at times.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get around that one, but can't put any spin on that. Yeah, it's just not working. What I can spin is that the coaching staffs tend to get better as the season goes along. We have evidence of this. Your team that you root for has been in the AFC Championship game 5 straight years. So, hey, one loss in October, albeit late October versus early October. Hey, you know what? I get it. What last year's team did is get flat out embarrassed against the Indianapolis Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Very next week, they beat the living daylights out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hey, that guy Von Miller's really good. You know what we're not going to do next week? We're not going to let Nick Bosa beat us. And we're going to put 40 on the San Francisco 49ers. So the coaching staff gets better as the season goes along, understands their players, massages some things, calls better plays, gets more fundamentally sound, and the players respond. So history would say at some point, Sky Moore is going to have a turn. I don't know when, but history suggests even Sky Moore, who's had a terrible season by expectation, will get better as the season goes along because the coaching staff gets better as the season goes along. Do you want the dread now?
Yes.
This is not the Kansas City Chiefs that you and you and you and you just start acknowledging it now, guys. If the Miami Dolphins get up 2 scores in Germany, are the Chiefs coming back? Because the dread in me says no. This offense is not built to come from behind from double-digit deficits because the first time they were put in that scenario in week 8, they stunk.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to play more defense-first football as we get to real football, which is Thanksgiving, which is the weather getting colder, which it was yesterday, which is, hey, sometimes you're going to have to eat that football instead of staring Sky Moore down until somebody forces you to fumble the football. This is not the Chiefs team that can come back from 2 scores in the second half. They don't have the weaponry to do that, even with the quarterback having the potential to play at all world levels. So that is the dread. What you just learned yesterday, that is a fact until proven otherwise. And it's unfortunate that the Miami Dolphins are the very next team on the schedule. If they get up 2 scores, they will house you. So the coaching staff kind of needs to understand that, because yesterday they acted like, oh, he's done it 20,000 times. And I understand that because humanistically, he's done it 20,000 times. But also, they ran an up-tempo offense, and sure, they got down the field, but the guy dropped the most perfect pass of the game. So there's the optimism. They will get better as the season goes along. But I don't think you should trust them if they're down 2 scores to a legitimate opponent, because when they were down 2 scores to a legitimate opponent that they disrespected yesterday, they got their butts whooped.
Seth, last week we talked about the Chargers game being, at least for me, was the most confident I had been in the Chiefs as a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And now I have had this dread wash over me that realizes the Chiefs being down by 14 points is no longer the tied game that it used to be.
Yep.
I actually, Nate, to pick a very specific little portion of that, I believe that the Chiefs defense will give the offense chances to get that game back even again. But I don't necessarily believe that the offense is going to take that advantage, which is sort of devastating because the offense had chances way later into the game than they deserved yesterday, and they kept getting them. So, Seth, go ahead, and as we I got one more thing I want to throw at you guys, but with with that feeling last week to this feeling this week, consistency has been kind of the word of the day.
Yes.
What matters more? What will you spend more time thinking about as that Dolphins game comes up?
It really is the consistency issue and the weaponry and whether or not they have the ability to find who they are on offense. Their tackles aren't really grinded out run blockers the way they were last year. And with some injuries to the tight end room, they don't seem as comfortable with the 3 tight end sets because Blake Bell just isn't.
Jody Fortson was holding this whole thing together, wasn't he?
Yeah, apparently. And so for me, it's kind of interesting. It's like they took the Tyreek Hill plan to replace his production in the aggregate, and then they tried to do it again with Juju Smith-Schuster. And eventually, you can only break down things into aggregate disparate parts so many times before eventually it's not going to work. Like you need someone to at least be at a certain level of competency besides Travis Kelce. And I think Rashee Rice can be that guy, but he's gonna go through ebbs and flows as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm super encouraged by the snap counts with Rice. You can tell they want him on the field more. You can tell that he's getting more targets. I think he's already surpassed Sky Moore's totals from last year. So that's great for Rashee Rice. I just don't. They had a plan. That plan has not come to fruition, and now they got about a month before they need to
Abort plan?
Yeah. Well, they need to come up with a new plan.
Or adjust to their own.
Yeah, they got to adjust, understanding. Hey, okay, we tried this, it didn't work. Okay, how long before you see? Okay, what are the adjustments? And just keep in mind, we've seen this play before. By the end of 2021, the offense looks better now than it did in the first half of 2021. Not 2022, 2021. Keep that in mind. They were 4-4. They'd had a couple of big games, but they'd also had some real unbelievable stinkers, way worse than what they've had here. They'd had multiple games like the one we just saw. And they started to adjust. I expect them to start to adjust. My concern is scheme can only do so much. And I just haven't seen anything from guys not named Rice and Watson, honestly, to tell me like that they can continue to push things forward. So that's my kind of, they just don't have an identity on offense. They can't do the things that they really want to do. And this is the idea. You said Maddie made a comment that like the simple stuff doesn't seem to be working. And that's problematic if you don't have guys you can trust to execute the simple stuff. You can trust Watson and MVS to execute the simple stuff, but you can't trust them to separate on short and intermediate routes. You just can't. That's not who they are. And you can, who do you trust to do that? And that's the thing. I don't know if they have a body in the room that can do that basic stuff that Juju did last year. And wouldn't that just be devastating if the loss of an average wide receiver 2 was really, because that's, you start pulling at the thread enough, right?
But he was playing on a contract year,
and he was consistent
with the quarterback he wanted to play, who picked up the system faster than his peers at the time, and was proven to be a star before his body started to deteriorate his skill level.
Right.
And you're seeing that now, obviously in New England, and it's unfortunate, but that is a great example to tell you how fast the league changes, how fast this sport goes, because, and I do agree with Andy on this point. Andy alluded to it yesterday, but he said, if you're off an inch, it can equate to being a mile difference. Yeah. And throughout, even just, and I know we said, hey, they should run the ball more. Orlando Brown, when he got on the edge, he made people hurt. Mm-hmm. They ran a couple pitches, sweeps, whatever you want to call them, outside plays to get Pacheco the ball in space with blockers in front of him, and Donovan Smith whiffed. Mm-hmm. It's just nothing. It's nothing like, so again, sometimes the play call is accurate, and Donovan Smith doesn't get a hand on a single defender, even though he's in position to create either a cutback lane or to seal off the edge for Pacheco. And it's not just Juju. It's Juju. It's Orlando Brown being in the system for multiple years. It's Andrew Wiley being in the system his entire NFL career. It's a multitude of. It's obviously Eric Bieniemy and his coaching points just obviously being different than Matt Nagy's. That's not to say one guy's philosophy is better than the other. It's just different with a different collection of players who are also younger. This team continues to get younger year after year, which makes coaching harder and harder because you have less guys who've been in the system as long to help piece together what to expect from the young guys as the season moves along. So, I mean, look, it's a multitude of things, but they're asking a lot out of their quarterback who had flu-like symptoms. I just cannot get that out my mind, where he had flu-like symptoms and the opponent finally figured out, why don't we just triple team this dude? Why don't we just play 8 on 10 and see if we can get away with it? And they got away with it. So they're going to have to be more consistent, to Seth's point. And I just think fans, for as much as our eyes tell us that, man, he dropped the pass, or man, what is Mahomes doing? Or man, like, it's a coaching issue that I just want Josh Brisco to light a flame on a coaching staff that he doesn't trust. And that's okay. Even though they've shown over the course of time that, like, they get better as the season goes along. But right now, they didn't coach with the level of expertise or the level, I think, of urgency the way that Sean Payton coached. Sean Payton coached like, we have to win this game, and the Chiefs didn't coach that way. And, humans are humans. Like,
the last time you said that to us, Nate?
Sure.
I remember the last time we talked about this thing almost verbatim. I thought you made incredible points along those exact same lines of one coaching staff said this game bleeping matters.
Yes.
And one coaching staff said this is just another game.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night, banner drop, loss number 1, 0-1 to start the season. I mean, there was some post-game stuff too about being flat, not a good energy, being on their heels or whatever. I mean, that's stuff that the two Reeds and Mahomes each mentioned.
Yep.
And I've thought about that a lot. This felt like another game where the Chiefs and the Chiefs coaching staff had less urgency and worse energy than the opposing coaching staff did, and the opposing team altogether did. I really don't want to make it about specific coaches because we don't really know exactly how all those pieces fit together. Seth, last thing for you, from me at least, because Nate just touched on this. I just wanted to ask what you thought about the offensive line. And again, Nate just ended up segueing us into that beautifully. But early on, and this is anecdotal for me, so please tell me if I'm wrong. But early on, it was like, hey, Mahomes has some time. He's back there surveying, nowhere to go with the ball. That's concerning. But there's a pocket there. Late in the game, Mahomes was leaving pockets that weren't completely broken down yet. And also was leaving pockets that were breaking down in real time, it seemed like to me. I don't know if the Broncos changed things at halftime. I don't know if that's just a fourth quarter thing, whatever. But what was your view of the O-line there as Mahomes tries to figure? He just seemed jittery and unsettled again, and I hate seeing that version of Mahomes.
He looked that way to me too. It resembled what we saw from him a couple weeks ago. I don't think that's entirely line related. Like, I don't want to beat a dead horse and go back to the same thing over and over again.
If it's mostly about him not finding guys he wants downfield,
I think he's not. I think he's not seeing what he likes, or he's not trusting what he sees, and that's making him a little more jittery. And the protection wasn't perfect, but I think you combine that with the occasional. Donovan Smith had some bad snaps. We know who he is and who he is not. But overall, I thought the protection, and I'll chart that this week. Overall, I think the protection was pretty solid. When you look, in the fourth quarter, when you're down 2 scores in the fourth quarter, it's really hard to have good protection because they are just coming for you and coming for you and coming for you. So I didn't see too much from the offensive line that I'm necessarily really discouraged about, to be honest. And that's been I think that's been like a new thing for Chiefs fans, is like you see these things and it's like, wait, this isn't about the line. This is maybe about the weapons. And again, it's not a zero-sum game. There's a little bit of yes in there for both. I do think they could protect better, but you can always protect better. I don't think Mahomes trusts what he's seen right now, and that's, again, the consistency thing. I don't think he trusts what he's seen. Even when he kind of likes what he's seen, he's not sure. And that's been a problem for him, and it's something that he's going to have to adjust to yet again. I will say I'm just a little tired of hearing about how Mahomes has got to continually adjust to this and this and this and this, which that's part of being a long-term dominant franchise quarterback. Your situation's always going to morph and ebb and flow, but you would hope that it wouldn't have a continual kind of downslope. So that I hope that was a decent answer. I know we've gone over already, but mostly I'm genuinely worried about the weapons. We'll see what happens against Miami. It's a week-to-week fluctuation in the NFL, and we know that. I do think the reason why this one felt so bad is it felt like, Josh, I think you tweeted a version of this, is that this game felt like all the things we were concerned about, even as the Chiefs were stacking up wins, happened at once, and they lost. And so it's easy to treat that as like a confirmation, like, oh, these are fatal flaws. These can be fatal flaws against a vastly inferior team.
I moved that over to my little notes over here because I think it is the summary of how I feel even now, which is my official take is that this game showed a bunch of the Chiefs' major flaws that we've discussed for months, and lots of people should get a slice of the blame pie. It's an embarrassing and frustrating loss that should spark some self-evaluation. Chiefs 30, Dolphins 27.
And that's just it. That's all it'll take, right? Beat the Dolphins, go into the bye, sole possession of the AFC.
That was like a Simone Biles just landing. Just where you're just like, is that CGI? And you're like, no, that's real. That woman don't move. She got the strongest ankles I've ever seen. Oh my God, Simone Biles, which by the way, somebody was like, why don't we talk about Simone Biles being a Packers fan? Have you seen Jordan Love? She can't get any TV time because the man is getting worse. Like, like the Packers not being good hurts my soul.
That's a good point. It's very weird.
Like Simone Biles can't get on television because they hate winning.
Nobody's seen the Packers.
Have you seen her ankles? Oh my God! How can she do that open forward team so well?
On that literal note, that perfect note that Nate just hit. You can read Seth's quick review of some of the Chiefs wide receiver issues and the consistency issues and all of that already up in the Chief from the North newsletter. Judging by Seth's eye placement, the back half hour of the show, I do think he has the all 22 now, which I also think he revealed by talking about that one Mahomes rep. Oh, you're just watching that on the broadcast of you, Seth?
Getting
your Kevin Harlan on? All right, baby.
Having that crew is a blessing.
It really is.
I did appreciate that at least. And Nate's post-game article with some wonderful musical bookends, Nate. That you got a chicken bleep and you made a good chicken salad out of it.
Thank you, sir.
Because it's good stuff if you've not read that yet up on The Athletic, but the bookend really got me specifically.
Yeah.
And
it was funny to, I watched NFL Live and Laura Ruthridge like shouted it out. And I was like, see, that's what I'm talking about.
I didn't see that. That's exciting.
Yeah. She was like, oh yeah, by the way, they played Taylor Swift Shake It Off. And I was like, you might have read that somewhere. Shout out to you, Laura. I see what you're doing, baby.
That's prep work.
You got to have that prep work. And when
so read that stuff and then you can just talk us until we're out, Nate. Go ahead.
Yeah. Check out theathletic.com. Germany. Can't wait. Oh, can't wait. Last thing.
I just got my hair stuck in my hoodie zipper.
I
have enough to get stuck in a zipper, Seth. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. So I told you.
Don't isolate that audio. Or do, man. It's roasting anyway.
It's too late. Thank you all for watching. Thank you
Back
all
in
for
the
listening. Yes, Neil. I will see you in lovely Frankfurt. If anybody has Frankfurt tips, send them to your boy. Now, I told you about seeing Urban Meyer on a Saturday morning. That was a bit odd. For the life of me, I was like, can I just inform this man who 99 on the Rams is? Can I just inform him that 99 on the Rams is Aaron Donald? Hall of Fame player. I know you're not coaching Jacksonville anymore, and that was in a story in our publication. I'm sure you saw it, but he's kind of good. Anyway, so if that happened, let me tell you the strangest thing on Sunday. It was not the fact that it didn't snow. It was not the fact that Patrick Mahomes played a flu game that wasn't a flu game or the flu game that you never want to remember. It was the idea that in the locker room, while it's one of the most spacious visitor locker rooms I've ever seen. And, you see guys, it's quiet, people taking things off. Who are we going to get? All right, Sky Moore doesn't want to look at me. That's fine. That's fine. That's his prerogative. I get it. Drew Tranquil, I'm going to turn the other way because you just look really upset right now and you haven't even taken your uniform off and the game's been over 20 minutes. Okay, where are we going to go? And so I have to play coverage. I have to play man to man. I can't get out leverage. I can't let him go outside on me. Okay. I've identified who I want to talk to, who's been a very nice gentleman. And now I got to play DB to this wide receiver. And he started taking that fade route. And I was like, I got to pin him against the sideline. I got to pin him. This brings me back. All right, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I can't let you go. I have to pull your neck like the DB did. And then as we're interviewing him, he says, hey, look, my fumble, unacceptable. Hey, it's not the Super Bowl. It's a long season. Totally get it. Hey, we got to help out our quarterback. Great, man. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, stand-up guy, professional athlete, been through the good, been through the bad. And my head just said, come on, Nate. Come on. Don't get nervous. Don't let him get outside leverage again. Hey, dog, did he try to murder you on that interception? Because it looked like he tried to murder you. But you know what? I'm going to be a professional. That's not really the story of today. But can you get held like that with the ball in the air like that? Like, did he murder? He tried to. Did he try to mug you? What the refs? Don't ask that question. We not worrying about that. We worrying about a 6-2 team that stinks. That is also number one in its division, number one in its conference, and will probably be in the AFC Championship game again. But also, did he try to assault you with the ball in the air? And he got away with it, right? Don't ask that question. How many times in my head did I want to ask Marquez Valdez-Scantling, did he get assaulted? But I was professional enough to not do it.
Did you ask him to come back to the microphone?